Michael and Sophie, what are you doing? Good morning, everyone. Hello and welcome to today's live session. I'm Lizzie from Manton Sustaining Now, and these two cheeky huskies, can you remember their names? Michael and Sophie. They just had to get in and say hello first today, didn't they? They really wanted to do that. I can tell. They're still so soft and cuddly though, aren't they? Now, they want to join in today's session again, and I've said that if they are very good pups and huskies, then they can have a treat after the lesson. So they're going to sit very nicely and listen to me chat, and maybe they can have a treat later. So I want to start by thanking you all for joining Claire and I over the past few weeks. I really hope you're enjoying the sessions as much as we are. And you are going to learn some amazing things about our beautiful planet once again. So I would like to start by thanking the sponsors of this week. The Skylark School of Dance. Skylark combines British and Russian approaches to teaching ballet, through from primary all the way through to advanced level. The school has won some amazing awards, so if you have any keen dancers in your house, please do check Skylark School of Dance out. If you have a question or you'd like to say a big hello, please pop it in the comments box, and our lovely moderator Anna will answer any questions that you may have, and I will try and do some shout outs along the way too. So shall we begin? Great. Hands up if you love learning about science and how our amazing planet works. Well, I can't see your hands, but I can definitely feel the love, guys. I'm feeling the love. And here at Manton Sustaining Now, we love it too. We especially love finding out about what we need to do to take care of our amazing planet. So before I go into today's session, I just want to recap what we went over in my previous session with you. Do you remember I spoke about the indigenous people of the Arctic? And these were my 3 words that I taught you. Number 1 was indigenous, which means someone who originates from a particular place. Number 2 was permafrost, which is a frozen layer of soil underneath the surface. And number 3 was biodiversity, which is all the plants and animals within a certain area. Now, today's topic is going to be all about, are you ready? Here's the drum roll. Ice shelves' role in polar ecosystems and food webs. Now, I know that sounds a little bit complicated, but it's actually really quite simple, okay? And don't worry, I'm going to explain it to you in a real simple way, so you don't need to worry about it. It's going to be amazing, and it's a really important subject as well. So I'm going to kick off straight away with a little question for you, okay? I would like to know, what is your favourite ecosystem? It could be something like the rainforest, it could be the desert, it could be the ocean or the tundra, which is like a cold, freezing place, or maybe it's somewhere closer to your home and somewhere a bit smaller. What do you think? Please let me know in the comments what your favourite ecosystem is, and I will come back and check your answers in a bit. Okay, so we are going to find out what it's like to live in the Arctic and Antarctic, and what these places are like, and what we can do to protect these remote and amazing ecosystems. In today's session, I'm going to teach you not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 new words, everybody. 4 new words that all relate to polar ecosystems. You did such an amazing job last time helping me, and we're going to go on a bit of an expedition today with our learning. Can you be my scientific explorers again and help me? I can't hear you. Hooray! I think I'm hearing some yeses. That's amazing. Okay, are we ready to learn? Okay, let's go. Now, I hear you ask, what is an ecosystem? What is an ecosystem? It's a good question. So, this is my first new word, okay? My first new word is the word ecosystem, and quite simply, it's a community of organisms like plants and animals, the environment and weather, all working together to form an ecosystem or a bubble of life. Can you see in this picture the animals, the plants, the landscape like the rocks and the soil and the water, as well as the weather? They're all working together to form a bubble of life. We've all been living in our own little bubble or ecosystem, haven't we, over the past few months? Well, an ecosystem can be very small. For example, it could be a pond in your garden or someone else's garden. And then you can get huge ecosystems like the rainforest, the Amazon rainforest in Brazil and South America, or the Arctic in the North Pole, or the Antarctic in the South Pole. And they're all examples of much larger ecosystems. It's important to understand why the polar regions of the Arctic and Antarctic are such cold environments. And I'm going to explain it in a moment, but before I do, let's have a look at your answers to see if anyone has said, oh, yep, I can see. Oh, so I see Rosie has said that the rainforest is her favourite ecosystem. And it looks like Florence and Seb have said that they're local woods. I like that. Local woods are very important ecosystems to take care of. That's brilliant. And I can see that Aran loves science. I love science too, Aran. That's fantastic. So keep letting me know what's your favourite ecosystem. I'm really intrigued to know what you all think. So let's find out about these polar regions and why they're so cold. So the reason why is because of lands of extremes. Okay, so here in this image you can see the sun on the left hand side. Now the sun hits the earth at most at the equator, which is the invisible line that circulates around the middle of earth. It's very intense and hot at the equator because it receives a lot of sunlight and energy. Huge plants grow in places like the rainforest here. But if you can see at the north and the south poles in the Arctic and Antarctic, only a small amount of sunlight and energy reaches these areas, and it's spread over a larger area. It has to travel further and over a larger area, and that is why it is so cold. Now the cryosphere and the icy ecosystems are really important. They control the temperature of our planet by cooling our planet down to a perfect temperature so it can sustain life. So we know at the equator, huge plants and trees grow in places like the rainforest because there is so much sunlight and energy. What do you think the plants will look like in the polar regions? Do you think they're going to be really big or maybe really small? Let's find out, shall we? So this is what the Arctic looks like if you're looking down on the top of Earth. Okay, we can see that a lot of the Arctic Ocean is covered in ice. That's the white area that you can see. Let's delve into it a bit further, shall we? Now, you can see in this picture, this is kind of like a classic image of the Arctic Ocean that might come up in your head when you think about this area. You can see that it has icebergs, ice caps, ice sheets, ice shelves, everything ice. And we're going to learn, most importantly, about the ice shelves a bit later. Let's have a look at it even further, shall we? Okay, so this is the landscape in the Arctic Circle in the North Pole. Can you see it's a very wide open landscape, which is called tundra. It doesn't have any trees and all the plants are very small and low-lying. This is because the low temperatures and lack of sunlight throughout the year stop them from growing. These Arctic plants are adapted to the freezing conditions. They need less water, less sunlight and less nutrients than plants in other parts of the world. The huge plants in the rainforest just would not be able to survive here. It is just too cold. And the ground underneath all these plants is frozen, so the roots of these plants can't grow into it. Can you remember what that frozen layer of soil is called? I said it at the beginning of the session. It was one of my new words from last week. That's right, it is called permafrost. So I'm now going to show you some of the plants. And this is my second new word. Flora, Arctic flora. This is my second new word, okay? And flora simply means it's like a scientific word for plants that come from a particular region. I really like that word, flora. So as you can see, these are the small low-lying flora that you would find in the Arctic, and most of these plants are dormant most of the year around, which means they're kind of sleeping, kind of having a long nap. But once the short summer begins in June, they wake up and they grow really quickly. Okay, so we've found out about the plants in the Arctic. Let's find out about the Antarctic, shall we? So this is the view of the Antarctica continent in the South Pole. So as if you're looking straight up at the bottom of Earth, the land is completely covered in ice and completely surrounded by the ocean. Let's have a look to see what it looks like in further detail. This is what Antarctica's landscape looks like. Can you see that even though it's very cold like the Arctic, it looks quite different? It's actually called the frozen desert. Now, I know what you're thinking. Lizzie, it's not a desert. It's not like the Sahara in North Africa. There's no heat, it's not hot. Where's all the sand? Well, it's actually called a desert because Antarctica receives low amounts of snowfall each year. The hot deserts don't receive much rain, and these cold deserts don't receive much snow. So when snow does fall, it doesn't melt, not like here in England where it practically melts straight away. But this snow, it builds up on the ice sheet which covers Antarctica. And as you can see in this picture, this ice sheet is permanently covered in snow, and it covers about 99% of the continent, making it the coldest, windiest, driest and largest desert on Earth. Should we find out about the flora in Antarctica? Here we go. So plants cover less than 1% of Antarctica. Not many plants are able to grow here because of the freezing conditions, and there are actually only 2 flowering plants. The Antarctic hairgrass, which you can see on the left, which grows between the rocks, and the Antarctic pearlwort, which is a moss type plant with yellow flowers. There are, however, hundreds of varieties of lichens, mosses and algae, which are plant-like organisms. You can see lichens on trees sometimes. You might see a greenish or orange type area on the bark of a tree. This is a lichen. And lichens are very important because they are actually at the bottom of many food chains. And so they provide the energy to lots of organisms, and they help the soil formation and produce nutrients for healthy plants. So I'd just like to show you, this is one of the activities that we have in our Cryosphere fun book. It's the key for polar plants. You can download the fun book for free from our website. I will give you more details later, but I just wanted to show one of the resources that fun resources that we have available for you guys. Okay, so who is ready to meet some lovely, cute polar animals? So if you please, a little introduction to the Arctic fauna. Now this is my 3rd new word. Fauna is my 3rd new word, okay? And this quite simply again means the animals that come from a particular region. You can see here the biodiversity in the Arctic ecosystem is really rich. Look at these incredible animals. Aren't they just so beautiful? Who is your favourite? I think you'll know by now that the narwhal is probably one of my favourites, but look at those cute seals. They're definitely coming in close second. Look at their little faces, so cute. I have an interesting fact for you. Did you know that a walrus can eat up to 4,000 clams just in one sitting? I mean, 4,000 clams, amazing. What do you think you could eat 4,000 of? I mean, I know I really like chocolate, but I'm not sure I could eat 4,000 pieces of chocolate. I could definitely try, but I mean, 4,000 clams, walruses, amazing. And under these waves in the Arctic are large coral reefs, which support a huge range of biodiversity, such as crabs and lobsters and other invertebrates. Invertebrate means that they don't have a backbone or spine, just so you know. Let's have a look at some more fauna, shall we? Pardon me. So the Arctic has very large land mammals, including the polar bear and the moose, and there are also other animals like the Arctic muskox, seals, Arctic hares, Arctic foxes, snowy owls, orca whales, which are killer whales, narwhals, walruses, and every spring there's large numbers of migratory birds flock to the Arctic to breed and feed off the huge fish stocks in the northern oceans. So as you can see, it's a really rich and colourful ecosystem. Let's find out about the Antarctic fauna. Here we go. Now, can you notice anything interesting about the fauna or animals that live in Antarctica in the South Pole? Let's have a look. We've got penguins. We've got different types of seals like the elephant and leopard seals. Again, orca whales, a few birds. Wonder which one is your favourite in there. But did you notice from my question, there are actually, in Antarctica, no land mammals, no reptiles and no amphibians living in Antarctica. Generally, all the fauna there are mainly marine animals or birds. So that's amazing, isn't it? No land mammals, no reptiles or amphibians live in Antarctica. Here's some more amazing and wonderful creatures that live there. Most of the animals here are adapted to live in the oceans, not on the land, because the oceans are warmer. Every part of each of the food chains and food webs have adapted to life in these freezing conditions. So many of these animals can't survive without the ice, in particular ice shelves. Okay, so this is what I want to start talking to you about with the ice shelves. Okay. So ice shelves are really important to life in the polar regions. Ice shelves are permanent floating sheets of ice that are connected to the land, and they already float in the ocean, which means they do not directly lead to sea levels rising when they break up and melt. But it's actually what is under the ice shelves which is so important. So on land, life is harsh in these freezing conditions, but in the water where temperatures are warmer, life flourishes, can you see? And that is thanks to a large amounts of algae, which are plant-like organisms which grow underneath the ice shelf. Now, the algae, like all plants, do something very, very special. Are you ready? Okay, it's a long word, but you guys are very clever. It is called photosynthesis. Okay, I'm going to show you that now. Photosynthesis, and this is my fourth new word, everyone, my fourth new word. Photosynthesis is the process by which plants make their own food. Plants and algae use water, carbon dioxide and sunlight to make oxygen and sugar. How clever are plants? Now, the oxygen and sugars and nutrients then feed lots of other animals further up the food web, as well as being the main source of food for lots of animals within the northern oceans and creatures such as plankton and krill. Let's have a look at the polar food web in more detail. Are you ready for this? This is so cool. I love this bit. Okay, so we start off with the main source of energy on Earth coming from the sun. The sun shines down on the ice shelves, and algae underneath the ice shelf absorb the sun's energy and become the main producer in the food web. They are at the bottom of the polar food web. Very important. Okay, so you can see there the algae under the ice shelf. Now let's see what happens to the algae. Here we go. So we have plankton. Now next in the food chain, these are tiny, tiny microorganisms called plankton or zooplankton, and they eat the algae. Okay, so let's see what happens next. Next, krill, which are tiny crustaceans. The krill eat the plankton. Can you see the food chain starting and the food web starting to form? Should we see what eats the krill? Fish, larger fish like codfish eat the krill. You can see now the food chain starting to happen from the beginning of the sun all the way through to those tiny algae and plankton, starting to get larger with the krill, now larger with the cod. Shall we see what eats the cod? Oh, of course, it's the seal. Here we've got a ringed seal. Look at his little face staring at us. He's got so much food to eat there though, hasn't he? So we're starting to see these larger animals now, and I think you can probably guess who eats the seal. Who eats the seal? Of course, at the top of the food chain and food web, we have the main predator, the polar bear, and he eats the seal, and the polar bear is the main consumer. So let's just have a recap of that, shall we? Here we go. So the main source of energy comes from the sun itself, and that hits the ice shelf, and underneath the ice shelf algae starts to grow. So you can see the algae absorbs the sun and performs photosynthesis, the process where it makes its food from sun, water and carbon dioxide, and then the algae provides food for tiny bits of plankton, organisms like plankton, and then small crustaceans like krill eat the plankton. And you can see as we go further up the food chain, the fish eat the krill, the seal eats the fish, and the polar bear eats the seal. So can you see that in these polar ecosystems, the plants, animals, landscape and weather are all supporting and interacting with each other to survive and live? They have adapted to live in these cold environments. Did you know that the sea ice algae and plankton provide 57% of food in the northern oceans? That's over half. All those tiny algae and plankton provide over half of the food in the northern oceans to all the animals. The polar food chains really do depend heavily on these algae and plankton at the bottom of the food web for its survival and to create a healthy marine ecosystem. But one very important question to ask everybody is, what will happen to the food webs if the ice shelves melt? What do you think will happen? Can you let me know in the comments what you think might happen? Did you know in the past 5 years they have been the warmest years of the last 140 on record? Human activities are causing our planet to warm, so unfortunately we are seeing an increase in ice shelves melting. So if the ice melts, it will reduce the algae production and plankton populations. Now remember, these were at the bottom of the polar food web and underneath the ice shelves. So if algae and plankton decrease, there will be a lack of food to feed the biodiversity further up the food web in these ecosystems. Animals won't get the food that they need, and the ecosystems will break down and collapse. It also means animals which rely on sea ice will have to change their behaviours and adapt to their changing habitat. For example, polar bears, they won't have the icy platform to hunt on, and also the platform won't be there to breed their cubs on either. But it is okay. It's all okay because we can help. There's lots of things that we can do to help. Okay, so as we sit in our homes and schools, we can often feel that the oceans and polar ecosystems are so far away. But in fact, we all deeply are connected to the ocean and the cryosphere. Everyone depends on the ocean and polar ecosystems as it stabilises our climate and creates nutrients to sustain fish populations and humans all over the world. We depend on it, and now the polar ecosystems depend on us to help protect the flora and fauna so they can flourish and survive. So the year is 2020. It's turning out to be a pretty interesting year, don't you think? We've all been in our own little ecosystems and bubbles of life at home in the past few months. But did you know 2020 is also the year Arctic temperatures rose above 20 degrees for the first time on record? We can all make simple changes to our habits and choices that will help protect our own ecosystems and these beautiful polar ecosystems that we've been learning about today. So let's see what we can do. We can walk or bike to school instead of going by car. This will use less oil in our cars because oil is a fossil fuel. And it's also better for us, isn't it? Because we get the exercise. We can turn off the lights, TV and computers when we don't need them. This will save electricity and energy. You can help plant more trees. This will remove carbon dioxide from the air. We can eat less meat. Animals produce greenhouse gases that can warm up the planet. So eating less meat means less animals to farm and less greenhouse gases in our atmosphere. We can spread the word and tell our family and friends about the amazing polar flora and fauna that you have learnt about today. You could also write to your local MP, or you could even write to Boris Johnson, our Prime Minister, and tell him how important it is as well. And lastly, you can read our fun books. They are packed full of information and ideas how you can help our planet and live more sustainably. It might not seem like much, but it is really going to help. Okay, you can help protect these amazing ecosystems by making a few changes and choices. So as I round up the session, let's just recap on our 4 new words of the day. Can you remember? Number 1 was ecosystem, which is all the plants and animals and the weather and the environment within a place that form a bubble of life. Number 2 was flora, which is all the plants from a particular region. Number 3 was the fauna, which is all the animals from a particular region. And number 4, that amazing long word, 4th new word, photosynthesis, the process in which plants make their own food. Okay, I just want to show you. So these are our fun books that you can download from our website, www.mantenon.org.uk/resources. They are packed full of games and activities, facts and science. We have a polar ice experiment for you if you'd like to do that with your grown-ups, having heard all about the polar ecosystems today. It really is fun and a colourful, unique resource, so please do check them out. This is the front page from our Cryosphere fun book, and we also have some amazing games that you can. There we go. Some amazing games. They are our diversity deck card games, which are all about the Earth's 7 spheres, and you can get a discount code for those if you like today as well. So I would really love to see any letters that you write or experiments that you do at home or photos of you having fun. Please send them in to us. You can email them to contact@mantenon.org.uk, or you can tag us in your photos on social media. And please don't forget to like and follow us on our social media pages so you can find all the latest up-to-date information and what we've been up to. So all that's left for me to say is thank you again to our sponsors, the Skylark School of Dance, for sponsoring this session, for Anna for all the communication with you guys. Thank you for joining us. You have been amazing and fantastic explorers. Well done you. Let's have a look and see who we've got today. Have another little shout out. I can see some favourite animals here. The narwhal from Aran. We've got, who else is here? Yes. Flora and fauna. Everyone's repeating the words. I like that. I like the repetition of the 4 words. It's good. There we go. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Anya, for joining. Thank you, Claire, Julian, Kelly, Chow Chu. Sorry if I haven't pronounced your name right. Thank you all for joining us today. And just one last thing is my husky pups would like to say goodbye. They have been such good huskies, haven't they? They're going to go and get their treat now. And I think you guys deserve a treat after all that learning as well. I'd go and get a little snack, I think. So lovely to see you all today, although I didn't see you, but lovely that you joined me. And we will see you again the same time, same place next Tuesday. Bye, everyone. Have a great week. Bye.